What's going on, y'all? This is episode 5 of the Semi-Americans podcast.
Hey.
You got your host, Eddie the Petty, Eddie Ramirez, Eduardo Ramirez.
All three?
All three of them today.
All three, okay.
And
cool. It's Amanuel Brano. Manny Flacco, a.k.a. Man, look, I need more street names.
Somebody help us out.
Yeah, we'll have to work on it.
Yep, so thank you to everybody listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, whatever you listen to, wherever you find us. We appreciate you. Share if you can. Share if you'd like. I mean, really, the idea is to get everybody's perspective at some point. So, if you think that there's somebody with an interesting story that might relate to the feeling of being a semi-American, make sure you have them tune in.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe we can get them on as a guest.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. And like always, that's our goal over the next couple episodes as well, right? So right now we're kind of setting the stage. We're working on being, good podcasters and developing our skills, but then it'll get to a point where we're good enough. I mean, we're pretty self-critical, but we get to a good enough point that we can have other perspectives join us, and, we'll go from there.
Yep. Yeah, these first couple episodes definitely defining what we do as hosts, kind of the stories that you can bring onto the podcast. We've talked so far, we've talked about our childhood, about our parents' stories of immigration, about kind of growing up with the feelings of being semi-American. And we're going to get into professional development and kind of how it's affected us coming from immigrant backgrounds. So, hopefully you hear these stories, start really thinking about what you've gone through. We're developing as hosts, asking better questions. So that way, whenever we do get guests on here, you guys will know, you guys will have an idea of what the topics will be, kind of interesting stories that you think might be beneficial for other people to hear.
Yep. And I think I really don't want it to get lost that we really appreciate all the feedback we've gotten, all the comments that you make. We make note of it all. So if, I've had people personally reach out to me, text me, message me, whatever, and we'll definitely find ways to incorporate your thoughts and questions in future episodes. And, we look forward to just growing as time passes.
Yeah, I think so. We made a couple posts on the Instagram asking for questions, and we might not get to those this episode. Mm-hmm. We kind of did do a little test run, but we're gonna work that out and hopefully implement those in future episodes.
And interestingly, we actually had a post on Twitter and tagged one of the authors from the cover art that we had for episode 4. Jeff Pierce. So Mr. Jeff Pierce responded to it, and we also shared a snippet from, I believe it was the second episode. And as a result of that, we were able to engage with his audience. So he used his platform, and we're so grateful for that because it allowed us to have more of a reach. And the things that we've been sharing on this podcast are rooted in truth, which is why I feel so strongly about the content that we put out. And I'm sure you feel the same way. And with that, we are, able to see the power of sharing and being able to put others on to something that you enjoy. So we really, 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 truly appreciate everyone who's been sharing with their family members, with their friends. Really, like we would not be able to continue doing what we do without everyone's help, essentially. So, keep up the great work. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to continuing to grow with you all. All right. So the truth is, we recorded a few days ago, and it was one of the worst episodes we probably will ever do. It was so bad. through it all, few times I've seen you this sad.
I was
You were
sad.
your head was hanging. I think at some point you rested your forehead on like the pop filter. And I was like, I knew this was not gonna go the way that we thought. So
Yeah, when we wrapped up the episode,
I tried to stay positive.
you did.
I
You
did.
did, which
Yeah.
is good. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to push through and stay positive, and sometimes things come out all right. But,
Yeah.
man, as soon as that episode finished, I pressed save and I called the episode light trash.
Oh, it was so bad. It was big trash, man. It was not good. I went home. I remember I texted you, and it's just funny because progressively you see my hope just fade as it went on. And I was like, no, I think we got probably like a good 40 minutes, man. And I was like, all right, we probably got a good 30 minutes. Hey, man, you sure you can't shoot another time? Like, so this was definitely a learning experience. I mean, anything that we record today is going to be much better than that. So
Yeah.
we can only go up from here. That's how I felt, at least.
That'll be a lost episode that's never going to come out. All right, so lighter episode, lighter topics. At least, I mean, I want to talk
Lighter.
about this a little jokingly, so
Sure.
you don't have to give your opinions on all of this, but I kind of wanted to talk about the difference in expectations that our parents had for us with like getting married and having kids.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of where we're at,
Mm-hmm.
what they're seeing from us, and kind of like where you're like, should I be married at this point? Should I have kids at this point?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
the pressures.
you don't have to get into what you believe about
Yeah.
marriage or what have you, but
Yeah.
like for example, I'm gonna tell you, right? One time, dude, one time I was on the phone with my girlfriend's mom, right?
Uh-huh.
And she was on speaker. We
Uh-huh.
were just like talking about the dogs or
Yeah.
whatever. And you know, maybe the listeners have heard a little like barking or squealing, and you know, Rainy. That's
Yeah,
the beagle.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
a little annoying. She
Yeah.
can be a little annoying, right? So I was talking to my girlfriend's mom and being like, "Hey, you can have her for the weekend or whatever,"
Mm-hmm.
because she loves Rainy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I was like, "Don't you want your niece?" And she was, she hits me with the, "Nah, I want a real niece."
Oh.
You know? And more recently, my mom's been bringing it up.
What, kids?
Yeah. She's like, "I think I'm ready to be a grandma." You know?
Hey,
you
don't you
get
like?
that?
Don't you like how it's posed? Like, hey, I think I'm ready.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. So it's not necessarily pressure, right? Because I think our parents understand that we're trying to develop our careers, and
yeah.
like we just have other things that we're focusing on, right?
Mm-hmm.
They definitely started life at a quicker pace than we did. They had to make probably some harder decisions than
Oh, 100%.
what we've had to do.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm sure they bring kind of some expectations, right?
Like expectations towards me. I think so. It's different because we're immigrants. I think they, whether we like to admit it or not, that like a little bit of the American traditions and values have crept in. So I think it'd be different if we were in Ethiopia, for example, right? They could just say, "Oh no, like you're definitely gonna end up marrying an Ethiopian." But I think once we're here, their expectation, I think they still are probably like, "Oh, like we'd love for you to be with somebody, you know, of
Ethiopian.
your culture." Yeah, because it makes sense on a lot of levels. But they don't necessarily place pressure on me. They probably, let's be honest, they probably had that expectation that I would end up being with an Ethiopian as far as marriage. And as far as grandkids are concerned, I mean, my mom will make comments every now and then, kind of like, "Oh, like, you know, when you end up having the baby, like I can't wait to play with him." I'm like, "What baby?"
Yeah, no. I mean, my mom is the same, dude. Like she'll just out of nowhere hit me like,
Yeah.
you know, I think I'm ready to take care of some kids.
Right.
And I'm like, look,
just a random thought. Just a random thought. Yeah.
Like I'm like, you want to get a babysitter gig or something?
Like what is going on?
Not my kids, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, they definitely understand that we're focusing on our careers and building up a solid foundation, like you said, to have our kids ready to go.
But it's natural, right? For them to want grandkids, that's only natural. Like, because they see it as like, now we're getting older, right? And we're not like children. So they want, they want another person to raise, right? And their love for like our grandkids is going to be immense, just off the fact that it's, you know, it's coming from us. So I can't, like, I understand it. I don't feel pressure, but like I totally understand it. I mean, I feel pressure every now and then, but actually I take that back. I feel pressure every now and then because a part of me is like, man, once I'm done with this and done with that, like, what if, like, I'm not trying to be like a 40-year-old dad. Like, I don't want to have my first kid at 40. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I mean, that too, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to be able to play. Like, I'm getting old. My back's starting to hurt already. Like, I got maybe a good 8 years left in this back. There's definitely expectations. I don't think there's expectations as far as the person. Besides, obviously, they want me to be with somebody who's honorable and somebody who's loving. But outside of that, I don't think they have expectations as far as like career, or like they have to be a certain career, come from a certain career, or
it's more like they want it to be a person that comes from the same culture, right? Because I think I've had the same. My mom's always been like, you know, you want to stick with somebody who's from your same culture. It's just easier to understand.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it's not like they've necessarily dated outside of their culture, right?
Right.
So,
and I mean, in your experience, you've dated people outside of your culture, and how has that gone? Like, have you found yourself being frustrated at the lack of maybe understanding of your culture?
I think it is. I think it can be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a little bit of excitement right at the beginning of like, oh, this is something new, you know? I can teach them a couple things. They could teach me a couple things.
I dig what you're saying. Yeah.
And it's interesting in that way, but definitely like once it gets down to
over time, right?
Yeah, over time, because we do have this like home culture that's different than like everything else that's out there, right?
Yeah.
Because we were, you know, it's like code switching a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as growing up, it was American culture on the outside of the house, but inside the house, it was completely different.
Yep.
So, I mean, it happens the same, right? Yeah. Like now that we're grown, we can go out to restaurants, we can go out to a club, we can, you know, go out to some events, and it's American culture. Like we feel fine being in it.
Right.
But then at home, there's like these certain traditions that have stuck around of like, I eat this certain thing or do
from
this.
The music you listen to, you know, even
cleaning certain ways.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Know, like,
Fabuloso. Exactly. That's what we're on. And Clorox, for real. That's what we do.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between Fabuloso and Pine Sol. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah. And even house shoes, man.
Yeah.
Like people I've gotten made fun of for like saying, "Oh, like I gotta wear my house shoes, like the slides tonight."
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say the brand name yet. No sponsorship, no promo. But I wear like slides, and I'm like, "Oh, I gotta put on my house shoes." And it's like, "You have house shoes?" And I'm like, "Yeah." What you think? I'm like walking around the house and just barefoot? Like, no, it's cold. Like I'm not gonna do that. Yeah. So it's like little things like that, you know. Or like even the smell of incense, right? Or coffee, things like that I'm used to, and things that I love to smell. You know, if you end up being with a significant other that's not of that culture, then you kind of miss out on those things too.
Right, like going out to eat pupusas. Like if I see somebody grab a fork with a pupusa that I'm dating, I mean, I know you.
No, I eat
Oh,
pupusas with my
all right.
hands.
All right,
Come
you
on
do?
now.
All right, my
What
bad,
you mean?
bro.
You've seen this?
It's been a minute.
I'm Ethiopian.
We got to get them again.
I
But,
always eat with my hands, bro.
yo, but I've gone out a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been like the fear of touching the pupusa with their hand. I'm just like, come on,
Nah, just wash your hands and just go eat.
yeah, just
It's
go in
fine.
on it.
That's what I'm saying.
But it is those like weird little things that
Yeah.
that difference in culture definitely.
It plays a role like down the line, right? Even the language. There's certain things that you might want to say, but you can't you can only express it in Amharic, or you can only express it in Spanish. And then when you try to like translate it, it doesn't hit the same way.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of like stuck in this loop of like, it's kind of like this, and then you're just using a whole bunch of words to try, and it's like, no, there's so much that gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
I've had that happen to me in the past, and it's like, well, I try my best.
That's true.
Yeah, but no, it definitely it plays a role. I'm not saying you can't make it work, because I've said before, I think we're at the generation where there's a lot of cross cultural mingling that's going on for sure, but I don't know, the traditions and the cultures definitely play a role. Hey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, man.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
Nah.
Why?
I don't think so, man. That's
Why?
infatuation.
I've heard you say that before, but you don't believe in it?
Nah.
I don't think I do either, man.
You gotta ask questions,
What do you mean?
bro. If you think you like somebody just off of what the first impression is, you got it all wrong, bro.
But okay, so obviously, first thing we see is gonna be like
IG
physical.
pictures, yeah.
No, not even. I'm talking about real life, like love at first sight. I'm not even talking through a screen.
Dude, if you fall in love on IG with all those filters, it's not.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
You're even worse off.
Yeah. All right, we about to lose like 4 listeners based off of that comment, but it's all good. Obviously, first thing you see is going to be the physical, so that there's like a physical attraction to it. But you don't believe in like auras, like
I mean,
the energy somebody carries.
There we go. So off of first interaction,
Yeah.
Then maybe I'll give you that more than like love at first sight.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm on the same like I'm on the same point of view as you. Like as far as that's concerned, I think it's not necessarily love, but it's like how'd you just put it?
Infatuation. It could even be the vibe, bro. Like
That's what I'm saying. That's the way I see it.
You could feel like, oh, I'm vibing with this person.
Yeah, time slow down a little bit.
Yeah. But just like you said with the whole culture thing.
Yeah.
Over time, like the cultural differences.
Is it sustainable?
Yeah. Right? Like the vibe might not be sustainable long term, Yeah. It could be a great vibe right now.
Right.
And it could be a great vibe for some time.
You know what? You're spot on. 'Cause the setting matters, right?
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it. What's the weather like?
Right? Are you having a good day?
Is Mercury and Venus in retrograde or something?
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, Leo rising.
I don't even know what that means, but that sounds about right.
Sagittarius.
You're throwing up signs.
Yo, just call out the gang. Is that like the new gang signs in love? Hey, yo, Pisces.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Okay, maybe not love at first sight, but definitely, I think you could definitely feel the energy and the vibes of a person immediately. And then if it's like positive, I don't know, it just makes you. But what is love, man? See, that's a whole other episode. We're not doing this episode.
See, so the thing is like vibe is such an overused word.
Okay.
Like it's a new word. You know, every couple years there's a new word that comes out. But vibes has been around for a little bit.
It has. Vibrations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right? Because a vibe is just the moment in time, bro.
Dang, you're saying it's transient?
Yeah.
Just like passes?
Yep. But you can sustain a vibe if you put in the effort, and then it becomes love.
When you gonna write your love book, Matt?
vibes plus love. I mean, wait, vibes plus effort equals love.
I don't know if I agree with you. We're gonna have that. I'm telling you, we cannot have an episode talk about what is love, especially not in the
What is
delirious state
love?
we're in right now. Yeah, no. We're gonna have to save that.
All right, we'll save
Yeah,
that for next time.
cliffhanger.
No, that's definitely going to be a good conversation.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. Well, I think we're gonna have to end this on a more serious note. I think it's important that I say what I'm about to say next. It has a lot of heaviness to it, but I hope people receive it in the right way. Yeah. Episode 6 coming next week, God willing.
Yep.
And we look forward to hearing the feedback. Take a light on us this week. But really though, we look forward to having more people listen to us as time goes on, and just continuing to grind, man.
Yep. Appreciate the support. When there's something that you really want to work on,
Mm-hmm.
I think even the fact that we're tired, and now I'm just talking, bro.
Yeah, that's fine.
Look, we did have that shitty episode that we recorded,
Yep.
but we put in the time and the effort to make this happen.
Yeah.
So, as always,
Because we care about this.
Yeah.
Man. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So
So
we're passionate about it.
we hope the listeners enjoy. Went a little bit heavier, but we wanted to give you guys some light talk so
Yep.
we can ease off. It does take a lot of mental fortitude to, I think, dig deep and kind of bring some of these topics out to light. So
Yeah.
hope you guys continue supporting, share, Instagram and Twitter. Twitter handle is Semi Americans.
Yep. And Instagram handle is
The Semi Americans Podcast.
Yep.
All right, episode 6. Let's go. Peace.
Peace.
All right, so you hit me up earlier this week saying you had something special to say.
Yeah.
About ongoing events in Ethiopia.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to preface this by saying if you have any sort of love for me, if you have any sort of an ounce of respect for me, I hope you hear this. Even more so, I hope you listen to this. I wanted to start by expressing my views on an issue that I hold dear to my heart. In this day and age where disinformation may be more accessible than clean drinking water, it is important that I address what is going on in Ethiopia. As I have shared on prior episodes, I stand for a united Ethiopia. Any campaigns that encourage the collapse of Ethiopia deserve the proper energy. The TPLF terrorist organization group wishes to wreak havoc on innocent populations. This is the same terrorist group that held Ethiopia in a chokehold for nearly 30 years, dividing the country upon imaginary ethnic lines. The TPLF was able to hold on to power for an extended period of time because it had the backing of Western powers. And that's the truth of it. Now, more recently, hundreds of thousands of people within Ethiopia have been displaced as a result of unprovoked TPLF advances into regions outside of Tigray. This is not a war for liberation. This is not a war against genocide. Thousands of innocent people have been killed solely on the basis of their ethnic background, which is essentially the definition of genocide. The genocide of the Ethiopian people by the TPLF. See, the TPLF lacks a conscience. Although it claims it stands for the liberation of the Tigray people, it has forced children to fight on their behalf. Imagine the morality one must lack to send innocent children by threat of death to fight a war without a just cause. Imagine. Where is the attention that is being brought to those atrocities by the large media streams? The innocent people of Tigray are dying because a minority of bloodthirsty, self-interest driven criminals wish to force their way into power. CNN, Al Jazeera, the New York Times, and countless other media companies that choose to willfully remain ignorant and spread disinformation. Understand this. Understand that your biased reporting and disinformation comes at the price of innocent lives. This is the livelihood of the Ethiopian people. There is a right and a wrong. This is not a subjective matter. Criticizing the national government of Ethiopia for not providing aid is incongruent in the truest sense. I've made this comparison previously. Imagine if the KKK, a group that wants to see only one group of people attain all of the power, attacked the national government of the US. How would it feel if foreign countries condemned the US for not providing the KKK with supplies and aid as the KKK continued to fight a war with the national government? Please explain the logic in that. Take, for example, the UN provided trucks that have carried aid into Tigray. Those same very trucks are now being used by the TPLF to transport their terrorist fighters. Where is the outrage? How is the national government being blamed for the TPLF diverting all of the aid that is being provided for the starving people of Tigray that want no parts of a war? I cannot stand by in silence as the livelihood of my country continues to be thrown in the balance by those without an understanding of its history. As Jeff Pierce once wrote, Ethiopia goes on because its people believe in it. And let me add, you can't curse what God's blessed. In due time, the truth will always prevail. Again, listen to me. In due time, the truth will always prevail. Q.
Yeah, bro, that was definitely a hard-hitting message. And that's something that I've seen, man. And I always reach out to you when I read an article.
Yeah.
And I try to stay away from the biased media.
Mm-hmm.
Try to focus more on like AP News, Reuters, where they speak more about the facts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've read about the trucks that have gone missing, about the checkpoints and all of that. And I've sent you maybe one or two articles because it's kind of hard to understand, right? Like they are pushing this angle of like the government isn't providing aid to these people.
100%.
And it's like, is it?
That's a narrative.
Yeah, like you want the government to provide aid to somebody that is killing people and against what the government is standing for, which is protecting the unity of the country.
And guess what? The aid was being provided because the understanding is that most of the people in the Tigray region want no parts of this. They want no parts of a war. So the innocent, of course, when wars happen, it's always the innocent that end up being the casualties, right? For this little game that they want to play or whatever. And that aid that's being provided is being diverted by TPLF. They're starving their own people. But what they're really good at being bad. If that makes sense. They're good with the social media hashtags. Hashtag Tigray genocide. Who's committing the genocide? Who? You're the ones you're starving your own people. And don't, listen, I want this to be clear. Those same people in Tigray are Ethiopians at the end of the day. That's what they are. So this whole game of let's split the people of Ethiopia upon ethnic lines, it's not going to work anymore. We see the ruse. So that's why That's why it's so disappointing to see the response, for example, of the Biden administration, right? Let's be objective about this.
Yep. It's, I think you said it last episode, right? I think you said it last episode where imagine if, the EU was telling that the United States government that they should support the people that were at the insurrection.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And the crazy thing is that there are crazy people here in the States saying that those people that went to the January 6th event should be set free.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how? Why?
Right.
They are literally against everything
Right.
that the country has built up. And not saying that the United States is in the best position right now to even say anything about, what side of who they should support. But the fact that they are asking a terrorist organization
to sit at the table. America's famous, famous protocol is to say we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yep.
So why is the Ethiopian national government expected to sit at the table with a terrorist organization that's made it very clear on multiple occasions that the only way that they see this ending is if they take power again?
Yep.
And that's never going to happen.
Yep.
Never again. It's not. Look, all the social media hacks, all the, disinformation, whatever they want to do, it changes nothing about reality.
Yeah,
Have fun. Have fun with your social media games. It changes nothing in reality.
Right. The words that they use to try to spin everybody to support is not really the message that they are trying to send.
Yeah.
Right? Aid is not aid if you're
diverting
helping,
it. Exactly.
Helping somebody that wants to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah. How does that make any sense at all?
Yeah.
Makes no sense at all.
Like all these people in the States that say, oh, this is our country.
Yeah.
You know what they mean when they say this is our country.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not to help me or you or any other colored person.
Exactly.
Or person of color. It's not to help me or you or any person of color in the States.
Yeah.
They're saying our country exclusively.
Exactly.
Not inclusively.
Yeah. And that's a similar situation.
It would be the same way of saying let's provide aid to those people.
Yeah. Look, it makes no sense. There's a terrorist group, the TPLF, has decided to continue a war against the national government. Not only the national government, the people of Ethiopia, okay? Yet, we're supposed to show compassion? We're supposed to be kind to these people? They're evil in its highest sense. Some of the things that, look, I won't get into the details, but some of the things that you'll come across, even before this recent civil war, I don't even want to call it a civil war. It's really a terrorist group that wants to, get into it with the Ethiopian people. Over the time that they were in power, the atrocities, man. It's incredible that any I don't care what your self-interests are. Any foreign power that would support TPLF coming back into power is rooted in self-interest. There's no way they can look at the works of TPLF and think that's the best path for Ethiopia. There's no room for meddling. Leave Ethiopia alone. We've been around for thousands of years. Like, Ethiopia's been around way before I came onto this earth. It will be here way after I'm gone.